Well, hello everyone. I'm talking to you from Russia, from Saint Petersburg, Russia. I'm here for the Microsoft Imagine Cup. For those of you who don't know it, it's an international student competition that doesn't just focus on games, it focuses on software design in a very interesting category called world citizenship, where through technological applications, certain issues identified by the United Nations as things that would need to be addressed in the 21st century, infant mortality, clean water, matters like that, are addressed by very young students who are doing things in their 20s that could not be more the polar opposite of things I did in my 20s. I was a judge on the games track and saw some very interesting games. Just so you understand just how diverse it was, I was looking at student teams from Indonesia, from Angola. It was the first time Angola has ever been represented at an event like this, as well as France and Austria and other countries that might be slightly more familiar and more understanding of sort of the larger game industry. It's fascinating to just see what they're doing, see their enthusiasm, and there's one thing that I could not help but take away from this. It's how we talk about games, how they presented the games. They were explaining what the game was and also kind of what their business plan was going to be. And I realized that we've all developed a certain language when we discuss games that might not be serving games all that well. This isn't just the fault of the marketers who have to find a catchphrase that we all can sort of gather around. But this is also game developers themselves and us in the press who really got in this habit of looking at games as certain aspects, certain silos. Is there single player? Is there multiplayer? You know, do you have achievements? Do you have a certain social aspect with the game? We look at those as discrete parts that come together as something that we call game, and that's where I think we're not serving ourselves all that well. We're seeing a shift with the new consoles and the new way of thinking and the idea that you can have sort of second screen experiences, as people like to call it, where we're once again making it look at discrete parts when really what's happening is we have a game. We have an experience where we're looking at things like Journey and maybe what is going to happen with Watch Dogs and Titanfall, where that idea of multiplayer and single player, you don't back out to a menu and go back into the game. It's just happening. If you choose, if you don't choose, you may not even be aware of it. It's all one collective experience. And I think that's where some of the problems are coming. When we're looking at the new consoles, when we're talking about this new technology, we are only able to interpret it from the experiences we've already had, from the taxonomy, from the language that we currently understand games from, and that is limiting our interpretation of where things might be going, and I think it's also limiting our evaluation of what is quality and where things might be heading, because we're looking for what we understand made better, not something that's entirely different that we're all struggling to come up with the language to define and articulate. I'm not saying that this means one console is better than the other one, but I think we're also not getting excited and getting imaginative about where we can go with this type of technology, where development can suddenly take us. Yes, it's very exciting that more games are going to be like Journey. I want to think that's just the start, and there's something that's going to happen 5 years from now that I can't explain to you. All right, I usually would obviously be answering email questions, but I've been somewhat stymied by the internet here at this hotel in St. Petersburg, Russia. It's been intermittent, to say the very least. When I finally did get on the internet, I was unfortunately confronted with news that I hoped I would never have to hear, and that was about the passing of my friend and colleague Ryan Davis of Giant Bomb. He was someone who I've known since he started at GameSpot. The first show I was on was GameSpot TV, and while that did change, my physical adjacency to the people at GameSpot was something that continued on for many, many years. We were all in the same building. I remember him when he was young. I've really enjoyed his company and his work as the years went on, and I have been in just deep admiration of not just him, but Jeff Gertzman and many of the other people over there at Giant Bomb. The news has just broken my heart completely, and it's been something I've been challenged to even try to understand. I think being halfway around the world has exacerbated that. I know other people have said this, but I would just concur. When Ryan came into a room, the room improved, and that is something that happened every single time I was with him. I enjoyed being on podcasts. He brought out a humor in me that I don't think I would have outside of his company, and his ease of being funny and talking about games is something I will always admire, and I just terribly miss him.